Hi, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching On the Town. I'm your host, Tanya. Since our last presidential election, we are learning the importance of getting involved in your community. If you don't get involved from your local level, your voice will not be heard on any level. So, with that being said, On the Town wanted to have community leader spotlight, tongue twister. And our guest tonight is a Katona resident, third generation Town of Bedford resident. She has served as director of missions at SUNY Purchase for a decade. And she is also the associate director at the Harvey School of Admissions and now newly appointed town board member. Please welcome Ms. Stephanie McCaine. Hi.
Hi, Tanya. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to come and be with On the Town. We appreciate you. I see a lot of things that you're doing in the community and just wanted to spotlight you. So the first thing I guess we'll get to is town board member. Tell us about what that entails.
So in January, I was appointed to the town board when Mary Ann was moved up to supervisor. Her seat became vacant, and I was lucky enough to be identified as someone who would be an appropriate candidate to fill that seat. So quite frankly, I'm learning along with some of you about what that role entails. But the town board oversees, really maintains the fiduciary responsibility for the town, is the legislative body of the town that, sort of creates the laws, if you will, and the policies and procedures that govern us, and ideally provide leadership around, assuring that all the people in the community are represented, have their needs met, and get the services that they need.
Awesome. Now, I see that, I grew up here too. So
Yes.
I see there is a little bit more, a pinch of diversity.
Yes.
That's awesome to see. Because it's something like, I don't think it was like something maybe not even intentionally done, let's say. I just think it's good that now the people want to be involved. So they inquire and that they are being invited in. So that's a beautiful thing because the town has gotten way more diverse than from when I was 7 years old. As a third generation resident, and a very active member. I see you're on a lot of different volunteer boards, everything from soccer to the theater to just like everything. What are some of the things that has made our community so great?
Oh gosh. I mean, growing up in Katona was really truly a highlight, for me. So much so that I actually returned to the community to raise my own daughter. I think, what's great about our community is that people really do care about each other. They care about the character of the town. You really get to know your neighbor. There are a lot of people who've been here for a long time, but at the same time, we also are able to welcome new community members. We have great services, great schools. It's beautiful here, and access to the culture. You don't have to leave if you don't want to, but if you do, you can just hop on the train and get to New York City. So I could go on and on about what's great about, our community, but those are some of the things that are highlights for me.
Thank you. What are some of the things that you think that could be improved? Because I'm with you. I've been here so long that I hate to say it sometimes. I'm like, I love my town. It's like,
right?
I don't want to tell too many people because I don't want them coming, but
Right.
I really do like my town for so many weird reasons. And I was a foster kid. So like foster kid to say, like, my town is pretty cool. And there's things that go on, I'm sure, that are like whatever. But overall speaking, it was so great that I brought my kids back to be raised here.
Exactly.
Like that tells you a lot, right?
I know it well.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the things that you think areas that we could work on as a community and as a town?
Right. I think you touched on it earlier. The reality is that for years, the people who run our town really have not been a diverse group of people. And, again, I don't think it's necessarily a malicious thing, but there are different kinds of people in our community. We have working class people, we have immigrants, we have foster kids, right? We have, a wide variety of people with various needs. We have people who are aging. You know, my family has been here for a long time. I currently live in the house I grew up in with my mom, and she is, you know, like part of why we're here is so that she could age in place, right? And so I think that sometimes we are not mindful of the variety of people that we have, because we definitely, as a community, you know, with great schools and all the things that we talked about before, you know, it's very family oriented. They tend to think of, you know, young, middle-aged people raising families, you know, and those needs. But I don't think we always center the needs of Black and brown people. I don't think we think about people who might somehow be other than, you know, what we expect to see in a suburban community like ours. And I think that, you know, we need to work on that and just start thinking about ways that we can support the various people here, the various families and family types, so that we can continue to make it accessible and enjoyable for everyone.
Okay, that's a crucial. There's my hat. That's very important and crucial that that is for everyone.
Yes.
Now, so sometimes you see where towns are not as diverse, but I can honestly say that sometimes I'm not sure, like you said, if it was just because no one, like maybe me as an African American, I didn't go say, well, I'd like to sit on the town board, to be told no.
Right.
So I can't even say it's that, because it's probably not that. It's probably just like no one asked. I'm not going to go and recruit out, you know, other. It's usually, you know, people inquire. And I find the most people that inquire are the ones who have most invested in the town. So that's, we all have something invested if we live here. Yeah. Then we should all be heard, but we also have to get out actively and not, you know what I'm saying? Not say that that it's because of, because it may not be diverse, but it may not be that way because maybe we didn't go out and challenge the roles, or say I want to be on the board, or I want to be a part of this, I want to run for office. You know, we have to be active. And then if we're active and nothing happens, now we can say, wait a minute, there's something shady going on.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a two-way street, really. I think that, you know, sometimes people don't know that they're welcome. Right. They, you know, and I think the expectation is that if you value openness, diversity, welcome, you know, open government, that you just assume that everyone is going to feel like the door is open, that the seat at the table is available to them. And I think that that's not always the case. But at the same time, I think you're right that we also have to step up where we can, and let people know that we're here, that we have skill sets, that we have talents, that we have viewpoints that are valuable, that are actually invaluable, in order to make the fabric of our community that much stronger.
Exactly. So what you know, what are some of the reasons why it's important for us to, as regular citizens, tax-paying people, to volunteer and to vote at a local level on all aspects, whether it's for the school board, whether it's for the town board, whatever is going on? Why is that crucial?
Well, I mean, national issues are obviously very important, but the reality is that government really happens locally. It all kind of trickles up. It doesn't necessarily trickle down the way that we were taught years ago. And, you know, what we do at a local level is what impacts us on a daily level. And so if you are not voicing your opinion, if you're not letting people know what you need, you can't get those things. So, you know, here we are in this wonderful, bucolic, as some might call it, community that we want to keep green and safe with great schools. But, you know, unless you articulate what, you know, safety looks like, what, you know, good schools really look like, you know, you may not get what you need, or your neighbor may not get what they need. And so it's really important that you step up and pay attention, because the flip side is sometimes things just get slipped in because you didn't show up to that particular public meeting, and then the next thing you know, there's some, you know, legislation or, you know, something that you have to follow or do or pay for that you weren't anticipating, and then it's too late. And you can't complain once it's already been enacted if you didn't show up in the first place.
That's a good one. You can't complain if you have not shown up in the first place. That's very important, because a lot of people say like, oh, well, when did that happen? Oh, wait, what? I'm confused. It's like, don't be confused. We're telling you now. And that's one of my viewers to hear this, because, and I'm trying to, have more people in the spotlight, whether it's politicians, local board members, whomever, because I want them to see. So many people don't know that this is where you start. You start at the little town meetings. If you don't go to your town meetings and you don't have a street light, you're not going to get one, because you never mentioned it to anybody. Nobody's going to know. So just as something as simple as a pothole in your area, or your park, something's dirty, or I don't know. Those little things add up to the later things.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And there's so many ways to get the information, right? You can go to the meetings. There's the newsletter. There's the Town of Bedford website. The video, the meetings are recorded, so you're able to go back. The minutes are available. So, and of course the town council people are there for you. We are in fact public servants, right? Our email addresses are online, our phone numbers are available. You should absolutely reach out. I mean, I think that's been the great privilege for me, is that I'm able to articulate not only the things that are important to me, but also the things that, my neighbors and my friends have spoken about. I can bring them to the table. I can help be that voice for them.
That's awesome. See, and have you noticed, have more people signed up, to vote and to participate in meetings, since the election of either Trump or Obama? Have you noticed an increase, or same thing?
Yes, I would say that certainly since, after Trump was elected, I think a lot of people really started getting involved. There's Indivisible Westchester. There are a number of local, politically based groups that are available and around to help educate us, not only about what's happening in our town, but on our, in the county, and of course in the state, because those are the things that impact us daily, right? And I think people realize that if we are not engaged and we're not paying attention, we can't impact change. And then things will happen. And again, you'll show up and be like, wait, how did this happen? So I think that there's been a lot more action. And I think that's exactly why this last election went the way that it did, because there was so much engagement at the local level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely think I see a big change. Even young people, which is an area that I think that a lot of people, Barack kind of touched on it, and I think that's how he went over the edge. Was because he knew about the college kids, and I think that is a big thing that we have to remember as parents when our kids are away at college. Did we get them to have the mail in their ballot? Did we change their whatever their location?
Right.
It is we need to do, because that's something that caught me off guard one year when I was like, my daughter's at college. What are we going to do? And it was too late. So those are things that we don't think about that make a big difference, especially when the election is tight.
Yes, very much so. And you have to start engaging them before they get into college. I mean, the interesting thing about today's youth, and you just said that I worked at a school, right? Like the kids are like way ahead of us. We sit around like having these long drawn out conversations about, gender identity and equity and all these things. And the kids are looking at us like, wait, why are we having this conversation? Like, haven't you all fixed this yet? So, it's really important to like make sure that they understand how they can be civically engaged and how their voice can be heard and recorded and count, because if there's a future that we all want to imagine, they're the ones who really have the ability to make that happen. And we need to listen to them and teach them how to participate effectively.
Absolutely. I think, starting early is crucial for not just for that, but for teaching equality and teaching, what's the word? Teaching people to be not racially tolerant. What's a better word?
Justice oriented, to have cultural literacy, to be able to engage. I mean, the world has changed, and our kids, this, they are connecting with people across the globe. They are so not as invested in those boundaries as we are. And for them, the boundaries are extremely permeable. We are all learning about gender fluidity, for example. And it's because they are moving away from these traditional roles and identities. because they don't matter as much to them. They're not as invested in them. And so they want to make sure that we are living in a world where people can be safe and be their authentic selves. Yeah. And, you know, in order for that to happen, we have to teach them how to, need to do, like to be voters, right, to participate. But it's not just about voting. It's like you could participate on a local community board. Like, the town of Bedford has a number of committees that, engage, that are run by, current residents, and they are able to advise the town council so that the town council can, make change and action that is meaningful to the community.
What are some of the other things that that we can do as residents to become more involved in meetings?
Well, I would say literally there are quite a number of vacancies on some of the town committees. They will be coming out, or they came out in the newsletter yesterday. And quite frankly, I don't remember them off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. But I would certainly go on to the town website and the county. Like there are like a number of organizations. I'm currently involved. The town of Bedford.gov. I believe. But the other thing is that there are a number of Facebook groups that, like I had mentioned, for example, Indivisible Westchester. There's the Bedford Democrats. I mean, there's just a number of ways for you to be engaged and get, like Bedford Democrats is, not allowed to help register voters, to support candidates. There are all kinds of organizations that are politically engaged and connected.
Mm-hmm. So that's good. So there's tons of things you can do, guys, to be involved, and most importantly, check your local website. That usually gives you a gist of what's going on. And you can usually, you're reachable, right? You're reachable. You can reach Stephanie McCaine. I always find you on LinkedIn and Facebook. So you can usually find candidates or people that are on the board. You can usually find, they're usually very accessible. That's the one thing I love. It's not like, oh my God, how do I reach somebody in this day and age? I know, at least in Westchester, I can't speak for outside of here, I have been able to contact anybody I want to.
Oh yeah. I mean, I believe that my email address is smccain@bedfordnewyork.gov. If that's not it, we'll fix that later. But that's
at what?
At Bedford, New York, smccain@bedfordnewyork.gov. I believe that's
okay. So that's all right. That's close enough for them to get a little around just usually.
Yes.
Usually
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Usually, I mean, that's the beauty of today. Like, there's no excuses for people to be sitting at home saying, well, and just complaining. There's no excuses because there's so many venues. Even if you think, well, I'm not represented, you can get up and go down to the local town hall and say something. And I'm pretty sure, from what I can see, I'm pretty sure that someone will say, well, okay, how can we change this? They're not going to or dismiss you like back in the day. Maybe some of that would have happened. But I can honestly say, so far, knock on wood, we've been pretty good here. And I love the fact that people like yourself and, Marianne Carr, people are taking the initiative themselves, to just be out there and just be the change that they want to see.
Exactly.
Everybody talks about it, but not many people are out there really engaging and saying, well, let me see, what are some of my skills and what can I bring to this role? Can I help make it a better thing? There's so many things that any of us can do rather than complain and sit at home and say, I'm not a part of it. I didn't get it. I didn't get in. I'm just firm believer that just get out there and do it. And then if you get a problem, then come back to the community and say, hey, they won't let me in, or I can't get in. Now we have to work with here, but I don't want. I
mean, now's our time, right? Like, we know that, right? There's been this movement, this groundswell, and it is not as easy to sweep things under the rug. I mean, there is so much transparency. There's cameras and videos and Instagram and all the things everywhere. Yes. So, like, if there's something you want to say, I'm not saying, be hostile or aggressive, but I think that you just need to show up and, what in whatever media makes sense for you and say, hey, I've got a question, I've got a concern, and sometimes it's also about saying, how can I be part of the solution? I mean, I will say that how I ended up at the Harvey School really was that there was something that kind of, made me prickle. And I let them know. I was like, hey guys, in my best YouTuber voice. And I was like, by the way, this isn't sitting well with me. And, and I knew that wasn't really going to be productive, just saying, I don't like this. And I said, let me know if there's anything I can do to, help you work through that. And, ultimately I made an entire career change and working at the Harvey School and trying to work towards, building the community that I want to see there.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And that's a good example of what happens when you take the initiative and just don't think, oh, I'm just the one person, here. No, you matter. Every person matters if you make yourself matter.
Exactly.
On the sideline, guess what? Somebody's running past you with the ball.
Exactly. Very much so.
You got it. That's it. So that's how I see it. So has being involved in all aspects of the community has it allowed you to see what needs to be done? How far we've come and where we need to go. Do you think that's helped a lot?
I mean, I just happen to be the person who constantly says, yes, I have to work on that. And I have to sometimes say no. But I think that having, been, just a resident, a parent, a leader in different spaces has given me, I think, some good perspective on where there are gaps. Right. And some of them are equity gaps and some of them are access gaps and some of them are just things that, people haven't really considered. Right. We don't always think about how, for example, we can do some discount rates for, low income families with some of our recs and parks programming, but the way in which we implement that particular program, I don't think we really walk through that from that person's perspective, right? So like if you're a low income family and you want to get a discount on your pool rate, like, is it transparent? Is it intimidating? Who do you have to share that information with? I think as a governing body, we're like, but we offer this option, but we don't necessarily think about what's the best way to offer this option so that people can feel good about that and feel good about their community and not, and I think that where we really fall down is like, we can look around a room and we can sometimes see that not everyone's represented and we don't necessarily ask ourselves, what can we do to make sure that we can bring these people in? And I do think that as a community, we tend to decide what others need and instead of asking. And I do think that maybe we could spend a little more time, asking and connecting. And sometimes you don't know how, and that's fine. But then you find somebody who does know how, you partner with them and you do that. We can't just all be saviors. We have to be partners.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know why in my head, I always see this little infomercial of like, 4 different people that represent our town, walking through our town park here in Bedford Hills saying, someone's walking their dog. Maybe someone's having a frappuccino, but whatever, by, by Starbucks, and someone else is doing, so getting off the train. And you say, I'm a resident and I'm a resident too. And, and together, like, we're all residents and we together make this place great, something like that. I don't know.
Right.
It's a commercial.
You're working on it. Got it.
I'm working on it. I'm working on this thing in my head because I don't know. Especially, which we'll touch on that quickly. The pandemic. Since the pandemic, what are some of the challenges that we face? Because as a resident, I didn't see that many because I think you guys were really on it. I got to say, as far as people that wanted to be vaccinated, they got vaccinated. There was not nobody like, I can't get it. I don't know. I think they did a wonderful job and the town parks are beautiful. All the sites I want to see preserved in the wooded areas are preserved. So am I missing something? Like, is there something I missed?
No, I think that, we've been really lucky. I mean, it helps that, 18,000 can seem like a big number, but it's a pretty small town, all things considered, right? And, we were really lucky to have a wonderful senior coordinator, and, we're able to make sure that the seniors were checked in on. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I said earlier, like I live with my mom, and like someone would call her every couple of weeks and just make sure that she was doing okay and didn't need anything. I was like, stop calling. No, that's not true. I didn't say that. I was like, thank you for calling, because it was nice to have the help. I mean, it was like they thought they were doing something for her, but they were really doing something for me,
Yes.
So, we did those things. I think, they've done things to support the Chamber of Commerce so that we can help make sure that the small businesses, were able to, continue to be successful. I mean, it's definitely been a struggle. But I mean, I think it really comes down to that idea of community, right? That as a community, we, the town board, the people who work and run the departments, like, Chris Soy and, Kevin Wynn, who are making sure that the town stays pretty and pristine.
Very pretty.
Like everybody really showed up, and we are lucky to have department heads running this town, and that care deeply about our residents and making sure. And there were conversations that were had. Now, I personally can't take any credit for any of the response to the pandemic. That was like a whole other board that I was not involved with.
Yes.
But it was really about being, in constant communication with residents and trying to make sure that they were responsive to the needs that people were indicating that they had.
I saw also, which I just had to mention, it was so cute. I don't know who thought of the Valentine's Day idea. I think they bought chocolates or something to the seniors.
Yes.
I saw that and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I just thought it was so kind that people were thinking of our seniors, because it's like I wanted to do some kind of reach out, but I was like, yeah, but with COVID, how's that going to work out?
Exactly.
So it was like a catch-22. So I was glad that someone in the town thought of it and said, no, we're going to make sure we take care of everybody. I really can say whoever was in charge, because when did it start? Was it the pandemic started? Was Burdick?
March.
Or
yes, it was Chris Burdick, Marianne, Kate Galligan.
Carried the torch. It was great. It was great. So I appreciate it as a resident. I appreciate it. And I wanted to have you here today because I wanted people to see, like, even though we're talking about our small town, this applies for your small town, wherever you're at, that you have to get involved. And that means going to the school meeting if you're a parent. Even if you're not a parent, I'd go and check out what's going on, go on to your town meetings. If now they might be in Zoom still, but go, check them out, because there's things going
easier in Zoom.
Right. Like we're in Zoom still. Yeah. Like even putting up new 5G towers or something like that. If you don't want them in your area, guess what? They will be up in your area. If you're not there to say, don't think I want this here. Can you please put it somewhere else? It'll happen. If you don't have lights, can't tell nobody, but if you're not at the meetings, nobody's going to know. Right. So there's no diversity, go to the meeting and make it diverse. It may not be diverse because someone's prejudiced. It may be because you didn't take a part. And you might be, if there's 5 Black people in town and none of them go to the meeting, then whose fault is that, right? So I say in my Latino community, everybody, you must get involved. This is where it starts. It doesn't start later. Once you go vote for president, that's too late. So get involved. And any last word you want to give? Because I know our time has gone already.
Yeah, no, it was like really quickly. But, I think just to reiterate what you said, I think the reason that that people reached out to me is because I had shown up in different places. I had done the volunteer with the community theater. I had done the volunteer work with the Girl Scouts. I had connected with different people in different parts of the community. And so, don't get me wrong, I know I was not the first person they thought of when they were like, oh, we have a vacancy, let's call Stephanie. But, at some point, they realized, after all the smart people said no, they were like, we know this other smart woman who has, really been, connected and engaged. And so it's really like, you don't know what the outcome of that would be. It could be a job, it could be a seat at the table. So, where you can, if it fits in. And I think it's really important to model. I mean, for me, a lot of it was driven by my daughter. I didn't want her to think that, we could just glide through life and not contribute, but we really needed to participate. And I encourage everyone to do so, because you just never know where it's going to lead.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate that. That's the best summary I could possibly give. For your kids' sake, participate, because you don't want to just get anything. You stand for something, you fall for anything, and we don't know what that could be. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us. And you're welcome anytime to come back and tell us anything going on in the town.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Thank you. And let's see. I just want one quick shout out to Gina. You're working on speaking. Yes. Humanitarian solutions. Yes. Let's see. Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you, Betty. Let's see. I said Gina. I don't see you on there. Okay. And somebody else I saw. I can't see who that is. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch us this week. We were getting, let's see. I'm trying to see if I have any more comments before I go here. I apologize. But thank you so much, you guys, for watching. I hope you've learned something this week. And you definitely learned something new about Stephanie McCaine. And if you have any questions for her, you can email her. There's emails in the chat. And if you can't find her, you can hit me up and I will give you her information. Just whatever you do, get involved, please. All right. Thank you so much for watching On the Town. And that's it. I'm going to talk to you guys. Do not forget to go to my channel, YouTube channel, On the Town with Tanya, and subscribe, like, hit. And yeah, that's it. Bye.